Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, July 9th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Star sports writer Pete Gradhoff and I, among others at the Star, got a little list crazy last summer, what with the COVID shutdown and all. But one idea we had for a ranking story and never got around to it was best games by the teams that we cover. So here it is. As is the case with our previous list stories, we had fun piecing it together, plus a lot of back and forth conversation. Stories like this are intended to invite discussion and feedback, and we've gotten plenty of it since the story was posted on our website earlier this week, and it ran in Tuesday's editions of The Star. Some liked it, some thought it stunk, one said it had no credibility. So there you go. Before the story ran, Pete and I sat down with Star columnist Vahe Gregorian and Chiefs beat writer Sam McDowell for their thoughts on the list. Not just Chiefs games, but all of it. Hope you enjoy the discussion and the list. An all-star cast has been assembled.
Vahe's here too.
And Vahe. I knew that was coming from you.
You know,
Sam.
I was going to say something like that, and then he just
beat you to it.
And I was going to say it about myself.
You don't have to be self-deprecating. Sam McDowell is here.
Everybody deprecating. Got to watch those words, though, boy. Okay.
Oh.
I'm sure you'll cut this.
I get to talk to Vahe Gregorian and Sam McDowell a lot on our podcast. Pete Gradhoff is the bonus here. Pete, it's great to see you. It was great to work with you on this project, the top 25 games in Kansas City sports history. It's something we talked about last year. Mm-hmm. And we didn't do it because we had lists coming out of our wazoo last year. And we decided to put this list off for this year. So how you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be here in the all-star banter. So this is fun.
Company of greatness here, isn't it?
And Sam.
All right. So for our reasons of transparency, we are recording this on June 29th. The story's not, and it's going to be posted next week, the podcast. And we don't know exactly when the top 25 list is going to be in the newspaper. Or online at kansascity.com.
Right. It's kind of, we're going to see where it fits in the best spot possible for our readers.
Yes, because we always have the audience at heart in mind.
Absolutely.
And but the reason we're recording this today is because we could all fit it into our schedules. And we had Pete and I were going to come here and talk about this, but we roped Vahe and Sam in because we wanted to get their thoughts on our top 25 list. Like I said earlier, we were list crazy last year, right? The pandemic had something to do with that. We were looking for content. And so you and I did the top 25 moments, I believe, in Kansas City sports history. We did the uniform numbers, the greatest to wear, number whatever, with I think 15 ended up being one of the better ones because that's Mahomes and Merrifield, among others. And then Sam Ellinger did the most influential people in Kansas City sports history with Lamar Hunt and Ewing Kauffman going 1 and 2. But this is the top 25 games. And when you and I started talking about this a year ago, we didn't disagree, but it was somewhat difficult to come up with criteria of what a great game was. So I'll go around the table. Pete, I'll start with you. What are the requirements for a great game?
I think it has to be memorable. I think there has to be some dramatic moments within that game, too, that stick out. And I think it has to be a pretty high-profile game as well, not a Chiefs Week 4 game necessarily or a Royals game in August. And I think, and I don't know that we added this in our story just yet, but I think the Kansas City team has to win to make the list. I mean, they've been part of some really great games that Kansas City teams didn't win. So that's kind of my criteria.
Well, I'll just say on our top 25 list that I'm staring at, the Kansas City team did win, but there are a couple of games here where we had colleges facing off against each other. So One of our schools won and one of our schools did not win. Vahe, what do you think of when you think of great games?
I really like the description you came up with, and this matrix sounds about right. And it sort of feels like one of those, what's the old Supreme Court thing where you know it when you see it, right? Yeah. And I think for me, I feel like the end, not just dramatic moments in the game, but also like the feeling like you don't know what's going to happen till the end, and high stakes, right? All that combined. And I'm excited to get into our list, but I feel like all the ones, as you guys were sharing with us, what the ones at the top are, it was like every one of those hit those boxes in numerous ways.
We'll count them down here in a second. And of course, that Supreme Court was they were talking about pornography, so you know it when you see it.
That's right.
And great games. I think that's it applies to great games as well.
I'd like to see you have this in the subject line when this goes out. The pornography of great games.
I have no interest in following that.
Because you can't.
And yet you'll be asked. So, Sam, do we cover it?
I really love Pete's description, actually, because it has 4 or 5 elements that you always look for. You know, the fact that there's got to be something at stake. So, I mean, there's certain games that we've all covered that have had crazy stuff happen. I can remember being at a July-August game. What was it, 15, where they scored like 7 runs in the bottom of the 9th to win it. But it's a July or August game. So I really like, you know, the high stakes element, the fact that, you know, it's not going to be the Royals in '85 winning, what was it, like 11-0 or something like that.
In Game 7.
Yeah, there's got to be some drama to it as well towards the end of the game where it's still in doubt late or something of that sort. But I will say, anytime we go through these lists, and you guys always email us and ask for suggestions, it shocks me that you guys, knock on wood, have yet to leave some obvious thing off, because I would never undertake this task for that reason.
Well, don't put it past us. That absolutely could happen. And of course, do
you have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl on there?
Let's double check.
Yeah.
Because I sent it in.
In fact, we do have both Chiefs Super Bowl victories on the list, but we don't have the 11-0 Game 7 victory, because for the very reason, the memorable thing about that game was Joaquin Andujar, going nuts, and in the last out of the game, right, the moment in the celebration. But no, as far as dramatics are concerned, nothing in that game, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing I should say is, when we talk about any kind of list that we've done the last couple of years, the teams we include are the Chiefs and the Royals, Kansas, Missouri, Kansas State, Sporting, KC/Wizards. Small colleges are involved. The high schools are involved. And I can just say, for the purposes of this list, there were no Kansas City Athletics games. There were no Kansas City Kings games. I would love to have found a Monarchs game that rose to the level of a great game, but I even talked to Bob Kendrick about this. You know, they played in the 1924 Negro League World Series and the 1942 World Series. There wasn't one game that really was that nobody ever forgot, right? It was just the greatest game of all time. So all of our games, I think the oldest game on our list, and maybe this is recency bias, but the oldest game on our list is the Super Bowl IV, the Chiefs over the Vikings, and that's not in the top 10. So let's go over a few of these and let me know what you think. We'll start with not all, but we'll start with some that were 11 through 25, and let me ask you if you have a memory of this game. And Pete, I will start with you. This may have been the most interesting game on the list because it's an exhibition game. It was an exhibition game, but the impact on this game, and actually I'm going to talk to you about it too, Sam. The Kansas City Wizards defeat Manchester United in an exhibition game at Arrowhead Stadium. Why would this game be on our list?
Oh, there's a lot of reasons. It was an exhibition game, but one of the world's best teams coming to Kansas City just raised the element a little bit, and it was an entertaining game too, back and forth. Particularly these quote-unquote friendly games are pretty leisurely paced a lot of times, but Jimmy Conrad got a red card. And setting all that aside, the Hunt family had recently sold the franchise, and the new owners were there. And it was kind of like their first step forward into introducing the soccer team to the city again. And talked to Rob Thompson, the longtime PR guy at Sporting, and he said they just had enormous number of season ticket requests come the day after that game. And, it made news in England, obviously, and they had a guy from India on the team. So he told me it was big news in India because he got into the game. It just was just an enormous game.
It was on July 25th, 2010. Do you remember saying anything about that?
No,
you wouldn't be old
enough to. No, I didn't live here at the time. I lived in South Carolina at the time, and I just wasn't that into soccer until I started covering it here. It was just the kind of atmosphere you had to experience, I feel like, to appreciate it. But I will say I love that you guys included that. I never would have considered that, making this list. It goes back to the top of why I said I would never do this list myself.
You're a smart man.
But I love that you guys included that because I don't know that Sporting KC is what it is today without that game.
Mm-hmm.
I heard an interview recently by Jimmy Nielsen, and he just went into the Hall of Fame.
Back working with the team too.
Yep, and Jimmy said it was his first year. It was his first year on the team, and he said that first of all, there were 60,000 people at Arrowhead Stadium for this soccer game,
right?
And the fact that Manchester United came to Kansas City to play was a compliment to Lamar Hunt and to what he did for soccer in this country. But you're right. The identity of the soccer team was about to change. I mean, and new ownership and Sporting Kansas City would become the new identity. And we think, or the reason that game is included on the list is that game proved to this market that soccer could. There would be interest. It could succeed. You put it in the right venue. You give it the right kind of leadership, and look at what Sporting has become. So yeah, that is on the list. And I want to ask you about another one. Like I said, we're not going to go over all 11 through 25, but there are a few here. And this one involves two games. It's a twofer. The Kansas-Missouri basketball series of 2011-2012. Vahe, I know you covered those games. I covered those games. Best atmosphere for college basketball in this area. And we've been to so many good college basketball atmospheres. Any KU home game, really.
Yeah.
Some Big 12 games at Sprint Center, but the games at Mizzou Arena and Allen Fieldhouse those years were. I still get chills thinking about the excitement level.
They were, and for some reason, I guess the second one was the Allen Fieldhouse one was the second of the two games, right? And I can remember where I was sitting. I can remember the feeling in there. And part of the whole vibe was the sense of finality, right? That was kind of a different element of what you guys put together in this list. But there's no doubt that that's why, the high stakes aspect was in full gear. And the games themselves were just ridiculous, right? Huge leads overcome, opposite, periods of time when that was going on in home arenas. And I think it helped also that, there's the personalities of the people involved were part of that too, right? There you can probably think of a few moments and a few words said, et cetera, but it was magic. It really was.
So Kansas was down 19 in the second half of the second game. Missouri was down 9 with about 2 minutes to go. The game in Columbia, and in the game in Lawrence, I'll never forget Bill Self's reaction when they won. They finally won. When it was it English's shot that went in, but it was after the buzzer.
No, it was.
Or was it Denman?
I think it was Denman. Pretty sure it was Denman.
Okay, Denman.
Pretty sure.
Who was the MVP of those two games?
Yeah,
the guy is just fantastic. And so the ball goes in the hoop, but the buzzer had already sounded before it left his hand. And Self gives a fist pump, and that Kansas still uses on their pregame hype video, to this day. So that's the 2-4 on this list.
When you think of your personal top 10 events you've attended, I'll say this from me, personal top 10 events I've attended, period. Those two are like my first automatics that I just think of, man. Just
atmosphere.
Yeah.
The atmosphere was off the hook for those two. Okay, let's pick another one here for out of the sort of the final 15. Let's go with this. Right now we have it number 11. These could change, but I think it could change inside the top 10. The Chiefs win the AFC title for the 2019 season, beating the Tennessee Titans. And what's your first memory, Pete, of that game?
Our vantage point, in the press box, I just remember Mahomes was being chased out of the pocket and running towards the sideline, and he released the ball, and you don't get that on the TV screen, and it's like, oh man, Sammy Watkins is wide open. And he caught it, and that was that. I mean, you knew they'd won the game then. It would have taken a miracle. But that pass, just seeing like, oh, this is going to win the game. For that brief moment, they're going to go to the Super Bowl after the year before the heartache of losing in overtime.
It was a 60-yard. I think it was a 60-yard completion.
I think so.
And you're right. They needed the game wasn't clinched until then. What do you remember, Sam?
Well, the Mahomes run. And I still think that of all the amazing stuff Mahomes has ever done, the run might be the best play he's ever had. Other than maybe the drop pass in this last year's Super Bowl.
Which did not make the list, by the way.
But the game felt very 1990s Chiefs-like for a lot of that first quarter. And the Mahomes run was them taking the lead going into halftime, where you felt like they're going to get over this hump finally. They're going to win this game. That was the moment, and just the spectacularness of that play. I mean, we printed the picture in our paper the next day. Andy Reid's even looking right down at his feet. It was amazing to watch because the way, like Pete mentioned, our view in the press box, we all watched it on the screen because the screen's about 15 seconds behind, so you have time to look up and watch it. And you're just expecting him to run out of bounds at some point. You're just expecting, I didn't have a great view of it from where we sit. He had to go out of bounds on that play, right? So that's the play that's always going to stand out to me about that game.
That play, and look, I mean, for the guy who we're always going to think about for his arm, when you throw that into the mix, I mean, that's the thing. It's unbelievable. Like, this is what he can bring to it too. But I think the feeling I felt most was like, they are actually doing this when. Whatever point it was, probably that pass was when we felt it was sealed. And I'd been here less time than all you guys, but even though the Royals had kind of broken the seal and, gotten back in through the postseason and everything, there still was this lurking just pessimism about the Chiefs. Like, they're just never going to quite get through. They're never going to get back to a Super Bowl. I mean, all those hideous playoff losses and waiting for something to happen until now it can't happen. They're in. And I just remember that feeling like, okay, that this sort of changes everything is how I felt.
And then Clark Hunt receiving the Lamar Hunt trophy.
Yeah.
That was something. That really was. I know it happened the next year as well, but that first time, that was special. Yeah,
and Clark was pretty interesting about that over the weeks after. I mean, he talked about it with a personal touch that we don't often really see with Clark, to be honest. I mean, he just doesn't get that deep into things.
And Norma being there and kissing it was just, it's kind of a chill moment. And then Travis Kelce grabbing the mic and saying, you got to fight for your right to party.
That we heard a couple of weeks later at the Super Bowl parade. That was right. Okay, let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll go down the top 10. Okay, we're back with the all-star panel of Pete Gradhoff, Sam McDowell, and Vahe Gregorian. We're counting down the top games in Kansas City sports history. That includes colleges, the high schools, basically the teams that we cover and have covered in at the Star. How about just a quick thought? I'm going to go down the top 10 in reverse order, and we'll just get a quick thought from you, from one of you guys on each of those games. So I'll start with the first one, right? So number 10, Kansas wins the 2008 NCAA championship, and they beat Memphis in overtime thanks to Mario Chalmers' three-pointer with 2 seconds to go. Incredible game. It's one of the, one shining moments, a great moment. But this little known factoid from the game, there was a great moment before the game when Bill Self took the court, and Vahe, you fill in the rest.
Well, I've never seen this happen before or since, and I don't know why it happened, but I'm in my seat behind on press row, and Bill's just so casually walking out there getting ready for the game, and he just kind of points over to me and goes, "Hey, Vahe." No coach ever does that. And I think, I'm not sure I shared that story. I wouldn't be unlike me to share a story like that, but I think Poznansky was sitting right behind me going like, "What?" It was just really funny, and it seemed indicative of a relaxed guy. I don't know if he was or not. Maybe that's just how he let it out.
Well, he got Kansas in the position he wanted, down 9 with about 2.5 minutes to go, right where they needed to be. But it was an incredible comeback and a great game. And we were talking earlier in the first part of the episode about moments that make the pregame Kansas hype video, and this one certainly is the one that draws the biggest reaction to this day, right? 13, 14 years later. So that's number 10. Number 9, George Brett crushes the Yankees' hopes, Game 3 of the 1980 American League Championship Series. Pete, I know you didn't grow up in Kansas City. You came here about 20 years ago or so.
Yeah, 22 years ago.
22 years ago. And I didn't grow up in Kansas City either. Sam did, but not Vahe. So just the one of us grew up in Kansas City. But do you remember that? How vividly do you remember that moment?
I remember the 80 Royals. I grew up outside of Chicago, and boy, that was I guess I didn't realize the backstory that everybody in Kansas City felt, but yeah, they finally broke through. I remember them not being able to get to the World Series, and I like George Brett. And it's not me, but one of my friends told me, like, when Brett hit that home run, it was the only time his dad really ever hugged him, like, after a game like that. He was so excited that I can't imagine that pent up release that must have come out. We finally got past the Yankees, because it was Game 3.
Yeah,
there were 2 more games to go if they hadn't won that game, but same kind of sense of doom that I'm sure they felt. So,
right, sense of doom that we felt with the Chiefs. So
yeah,
not unlike that. Of course, off of Goose Gossage, who was the most menacing of the relief pitchers in baseball at the time, and he hit it into the upper deck, and it's still one of Fred White's great calls on the Royals radio network. Fred White had the call there, and I've never heard Fred White so excited as when he made that call. So, all right, moving ahead, another Royals. The top 10, more Royals than anything else, but number 8 with the also Royals. It's the Royals Blue Jays Game 6, the American League Championship Series. I still think that the loudest I've ever heard Kauffman Stadium when Lorenzo Cain scores from first on the Eric Hosmer single. But Sam McDowell, you weren't covering the Royals then, but you covered a lot of that postseason.
Yeah, I was at all the home games. What was that play that you're talking about sort of encapsulated the Royals in 14 and 15, which is other teams made a tremendous amount of mistakes against them on defense, but it was because of the pressure that the Royals put on opposing teams. They put the ball in play a lot. They were fast around the bases, and they had scouted, back to the 14 wildcard game with John Lester. I mean, they had scouted certain weaknesses for other teams that maybe 29 other teams weren't taking advantage of in the same way. And they knew that the right fielder,
Jose Batista threw to second
base, and they took an extra base because of it. And what was so fun about that team, whether you're a Royals fan or not, is that they played baseball in sort of an old-fashioned way and proved that it could still win today.
And then Wade Davis in the 9th inning was phenomenal. That's what makes Wade Davis today. Watching him, I feel so sad because he just has lost it. But he was the greatest. He was the best pitcher in baseball in 14 and 15, and I don't think he was ever better than he was in the 9th inning of that game, where he actually gave up a single and a walk, I believe. They had Blue Jays had first and third, nobody out. There was a strikeout, but the runner steals second. So second and third, 1 out. He gets the strikeout of Revere, and then he gets the ground ball from Josh Donaldson. And just to get out of, runner on third, nobody out. Yeah. And the Royals end up winning that game.
After the rain delay.
After a 45-minute rain delay.
That made it so
yes, after he had pitched in the 8th, and then he had came out and pitched in the 8th. No, it was amazing. Number 7, there was only one person at this table who was at this game, and that's you, Vahe. And you weren't there to cover it, but Danny and the Miracles take down Oklahoma for the 1988 NCAA championship. You were there as a fan.
Yeah, it was funny.
It's a
I had just started in the business, and I was at the Post-Dispatch, my first full year at the Post-Dispatch, and a friend of mine was working at ESPN, called me on game day and said, "Hey, I've got a ticket. Do you want to go see the national championship game in Kansas City?" I was in St. Louis. I got in the car. It was impossible to find anywhere to park anywhere near Kemper. I parked like 3 miles away, or maybe wherever the Golden Ox was. And I could not believe the sight when I walked in. I mean, I had not been to something quite like that until then. And of course, we know it was the Oklahoma the game where it's 50-50 at halftime. And it was I don't think I fully appreciated Kansas's story in that until years later. For me, it was just, kid in a candy shop, and hope I get to go to some of these again. And that was luckily the case.
Yeah, you've only been to about 30 of them. So Kansas was unranked. People remember this. Kansas was unranked going into the tournament that year. And they beat Kansas State in the Elite Eight and beat Duke, a team that had beaten them during the regular season in the national semifinal. And then, Oklahoma, Billy Tubbs, so satisfying for Kansas to beat that team and that coach in the championship game. And heck of an opportunity loss for Oklahoma. That was the best team that Oklahoma's ever had. Billy Tubbs' best team. They were the better team, and Oklahoma to this day hasn't won an NCAA basketball championship. So that was number 7. Number 6, we all remember Game 5 of the 2015 World Series in New York. Pete, you were there. You weren't there? I thought you were there.
I didn't travel then.
We had his hologram with us, the spirit of Pete.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not cutting that out. I'm keeping that. we make mistakes on this show, my friend. We own them. We do it. We run a getting it right,
scrub free.
I'll tell you what. I was working on the desk that night because I kind of was doing both, and we didn't know if we were going to get that in the paper, right? I mean, it was one of those where it was like,
we are cutting that out.
It's like we got to get something. We didn't know how we were going to get it in the papers. Maybe a better way to say it, because it just changed so dramatically in the 9th inning, and then it kept going. It wasn't like Game 1 that long, but it was still 12 innings. And
well, a really crucial part of the process, Pete, was that while you were worrying about that on that end, Andy McCullough was rooting for the game to go longer and longer so he could rewrite his entire story from scratch.
Which had disappeared.
Disappeared
from his screen.
Yeah, there was a little kerfuffle in the press box as that was unfolding.
Yes, there was. Yes, it was. So where does the Hosmer Dash rank as kind of memorable? Where do we rank that as a memorable moment?
It had to be top 10. I mean, that was an incredible, just, again, when we were talking about taking advantage of other teams' weaknesses, that the quote after the game from Rusty Kuntz, right?
Bless his heart. About Lucas Duda, right?
Yes,
That's right.
And
who ended up in a Royals uniform.
That iconic photo of him coming in and all those Mets fans behind.
There's an old lady who just is in so much pain, much pain in that photograph.
Because that was the game. They would have won Game 5. That's as big as it gets right there.
There was a little of that, Jack Buck's term on the home run by Kirk Gibson, a little that I don't believe what I just saw on the Hosmer play. I mean, maybe we had that feeling 10 times in those postseasons, but that was right up there. And Sam described it really well on the Lorenzo Cain bit from Toronto, but I think you could make a case that Hosmer, as much or more, it encapsulated, embodied what was going on there, every aspect of it.
And then they make it anticlimactic with, was it 5 and the 12th?
Yeah, almost knocked them out of our top 10 because of that, huh?
Absolutely. Suddenly it wasn't memorable anymore. Number 4, also the Royal. Oh no, number 5, and this is another World Series, but it's Game 6 of the 1985 World Series, and I know this made our top 10 of the memorable moments. Royals down 3-2. Cardinals about to win the World Series at then Royal Stadium, and the Royals get bailed out. If there had been instant replay in baseball then, the Don Deckinger call would have gone against the Royals and would have been overturned, and the Cardinals would have probably gone on to win the World Series. That wouldn't have ended the game, but they would have gone on to win the World Series. So, is it the right thing, Sam, as a fan of St. Louis sports teams, to list Game 6 of the Royals' '85 World Series over Game 7?
Yeah, I mean, I think it had more drama, right? And like you mentioned, I mean, I think the Cardinals probably win that World Series. I remember that because I was like 8 months old at the time when that.
well, that's why I went to you on this because of your vivid memory of that.
You know what? Actually, though, so my dad was like an Army brat, but grew up in a portion of his childhood in St. Louis. That's how he got attached to the Cardinals and passed them on to me as a kid. And he was at that game because he still lived here in Kansas City. So I heard quite a bit about that call. Even if I don't remember the play, I've seen it. I've certainly seen pictures when I went to Cardinals games as a kid where you'd go to some baseball card trading show and they would have that picture of Worrell on first base with, the guy half a step still from touching the bag. He looked out to me.
Well, there was no replay, so inconclusive, I believe, would be the proper way to describe it. Don Deckinger ended up, going to card shows and dinners and, signing autographs.
Yeah, that didn't go over really well.
Were you there? He did a show a couple of years ago up here at one of the casinos.
Yes, I couldn't believe he was there.
Yeah, and just going on and on about it, sort of rather playfully, I dare say.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do think it wasn't just playful for him, right? I think
no.
He addressed it in more serious terms too. To be fair,
absolutely, he did. You got a column out of it. I think I got a story.
I think so. We got all parts of the buffalo.
Yeah, it's all that matters. Number 4, we're staying at 2015, Game 4 of the American League Division Series at Houston, and of course the Royals are down 6-2 going into the 8th inning. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has congratulated the Astros. Is looking forward to an Astros Rangers ALCS.
And you've got the fan taunting the Royals too. Yes. I wish I could credit our photographers. I can't remember which one had that photo, but that was an incredible photo as well.
I've always wished we could find a picture of that. Sam's talking about the fan above the dugout. Just I think he's got his arms out, like doing a bird kind of thing, mocking him, and then. I don't think we ever saw the after picture, and I would love to have tracked down this guy a year later. I mean,
greatest comeback, I think, in Royals history, certainly in the most important elimination game, to be down 4 runs in the 8th inning. Greatest comeback. Game 6 of the 85 World Series, they were down 1-0, but to be down 4 runs in the 8th and to go, keep the line moving, right? Base hit after base hit after base hit until Kendrys Morales comes up and is Carlos Correa who misplays the ball, skips off the mound, skips under his glove.
I still think it should have been a hit.
To this day, I think it should have been ruled a hit.
Yeah.
The ball took a crazy hop off the mound, and and again another crazy hop when it got to Correa, and that 2-run score, and that ties the game. And Alex Gordon comes up, grounds out to second to score the winning run, and then Hosmer hits a 2-run homer in the 9th. To make it 9-6, the final score. We couldn't believe it. I remember we were talking after the game for a post-game video, and we were just couldn't believe it.
Well, not to go on too much about this, but inside baseball, but we've probably told the story before, but somewhere out there we still have in our computer system the midway through the game budget of stories that we were doing, and it was the 5th or 6th inning, and the idea was that Sam Mellinger was going to write. Why nothing they did this season mattered because of the way the postseason ended. And I was going to write how every September move backfired.
Cueto stunk.
And this is where the term we use among ourselves a lot, that on Sam's screen, I think the only thing he had actually written at that point was make fun of glove thing. Because of Cueto blaming the Sal's glove placement. So luckily we didn't overcommit to any of that stuff. But as good as a day game.
That's funny.
Yes. Number 3, more pain inflicted from a Kansas City team to a Houston team. The Chiefs over the Texans in the 2019 AFC divisional round game. This was the Chiefs' first playoff game of 2019, and they got off to a roaring start, down 24-0ing in the early second quarter, right? I think it was early second quarter. It was 24-0, and I was dumbfounded. I mean, they had Mahomes, and so anything was possible, but not this. Not 24-0. And the Texans had Deshaun Watson, right? It's not like they had an incompetent quarterback. The coach, I don't know about. But the Chiefs end up winning 51-31, greatest comeback in the playoffs in Chiefs history. Only 6 years earlier, the Chiefs had blown a 28-point lead in a playoff game in Andy Reid's first season. But does this game deserve to be ahead of the Titans AFC title game?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you say that?
Well, that game, I mentioned the fact that when Mahomes ran down the sideline against the Titans, that felt like when they were really going to get over the hump. But that 24-0, you felt the weight of the curse inside Arrowhead Stadium when that was going on. I know they had won the home playoff game and broken that drought the year earlier, but you really thought, oh my God, this team is not going. If this team can't get there, which team will? And it also just the brevity of the comeback. The game was over at halftime. There was no way. They're down 24-0, and at halftime there was no way the Chiefs were going to lose that game.
I know.
So it was a comedy of errors. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and then I still the couple images that I ring out in my head about that game is at one point in the second quarter, I think it was when they cut it to 24-14 maybe. Mahomes is running the length of the field trying to get the crowd fired up.
Yes, I remember that.
And we talked so much about, we talked about KU, that KUMU, that was a crowd that willed a team to a comeback. This was a player like willing the crowd like, hey guys, this isn't over. And the reverse of that has always stood out to me.
Daniel Sorensen had a couple of big moments. Snuffed out the fake punt, which I was laughing at the coaching decision. That was the one that Bill O'Brien, and because it backfired. If it had worked, he'd have been still be coaching the Texans. And then he had the hit that forced the fumble on the kickoff return that Darwin Thompson recovered for another short touchdown pass. So 3 Mahomes touchdown passes to Kelsey in that second quarter, a fourth one to Damian Williams, I believe.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, first one. And he had 5 for the game. So his best playoff game in terms of touchdown passes. It was amazing.
That, I think the 2014 and 2015 Royals shifted how I feel about all things possible in sports, just the way the knack for the comeback. But I hadn't really made that conversion to football. All I could see in football was the hometown team blowing the 28-point lead, not the other way around. And I just think this just reset how I process watching them. Actually, to a point where I still was waiting for it to kick in the Super Bowl against Tampa, but it just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, that Super Bowl did not make the list.
It's brought up twice.
Just for emphasis, it's not on here.
Another one might, but we'll see here in a second. Because number 2, and speaking of belief, the 2014 wild card game, Royals Oakland A's, Brandon Moss. Why do I think of him right away? Giordano Ventura. Ned Yost is fired if they don't win the game.
So you're talking about Bill O'Brien losing his job. Ned Yost was
on his way out.
I don't recall ever or since seeing a home figure booed as hard as Ned was walking off the field after that home run. I mean, when
he lifted Ventura.
Yeah. But that was hard to see.
Yeah. That was the story of the night right then. Ned Yost is going to the best season the Royals had, the first time in the postseason in 3 decades, and the manager's going to lose his job the next day.
That's what people were writing on in press row. That was definitely. I mean, he's got to go, right?
Oh, I think in this case, Sam Mellinger had written a lot of that column. Yeah. I think because he writes so fast.
Well, one thing I remember kind of thematically about the game is how much fun the Royals had in the comeback. Stealing bases because they knew they could steal all night. The vroom vroom. Even Dyson, Butler early in the game doing it, right?
Yeah.
And the dramatic comeback. They had to score in the ninth. They had to get one in the ninth to get it going. Does anybody remember who opened the ninth with a bloop single to right field? I bet nobody does because he was not.
Oh yeah, it was Josh Willingham.
Josh Willingham.
Yeah.
One of those late season acquisitions.
Yeah,
And they
that's
went
right.
with him for
I should have
dice.
remembered that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Nori Aoki,
Got the sack fly.
that was like a pitch in on his hands, and he like fought it up to right field.
Yep.
He didn't have to get very deep to get dice in there.
Right, but it did go deep. I mean,
It did.
it would might have been out at Fenway. You know,
That's true.
But
That's
around the
cool.
pole. But
I remember after that feeling like everything, like it was such a singular moment and just an amazing galvanizing moment in sports. And I sort of thought the rest of the postseason was gravy. And of course, it wasn't that at all. But it stood out that much that you could have taken that from it.
it's a freeze frame game.
Yeah.
It is. It's a snapshot moment in time. I haven't been in the Royals Hall of Fame in a few years. I wonder how that game is displayed. But what that game did, they didn't lose a playoff game until game one of the World Series. They mowed through the Angels and the Orioles. It swept them.
Yeah.
I mean, God, how much momentum did these guys get from that game? It was incredible.
Doesn't Ned? I mean, I know you have to have a certain amount of at bats to qualify, but doesn't Ned have like the second best winning
And
percentage?
it's the best
Major
winning
League history?
percentage by a manager in the postseason for a minimum of 30 games, I think.
That's
Yep.
right.
Well,
You know, the couple things I remember is the Royals hadn't been to the playoffs in exactly how many years?
It was 29
years. All their players were wearing shirts that said "Always October." It was MLB's brand, and that game was in September.
they weren't going to get to October.
It was just like never October instead of the always October. But the second thing is, we talked about the job changes. Andy McCullough might still be working here if not for that game.
Oh, that's
And
right.
that, going back to your first point, there were a lot of people who were saying, well, this doesn't count as making the playoffs. It's a wild card game to get into a playoff.
Yeah.
And so,
Could they even hang a flag? that said-
right. And everybody, they got a clean house. I mean, really, there were people saying Dayton might need to go too, but definitely Yost. So it all changed.
I just remember from the beginning of 14 to the end of 15, the bookend player was Christian Colon,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
He got the big hit to put him ahead in game 5 of 2015, and scored the winning run on the Salvi single in 2014 in the wild card game. Okay, our number one choice. We've alluded to it a couple of times. Isn't this the greatest? Is there an argument here about what the greatest game in Kansas City sports history? Again, recency bias. Super Bowl 54. It had all the elements, didn't it? I mean, the magnitude of the game, only the biggest sporting event of the year in the United States, down 21-10 in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes was having the worst game of his career through 3 quarters, and the next thing you know, confetti's coming down, and it's the gold and red confetti, and not the other gold and red confetti.
Yeah.
49ers confetti. It was Chiefs confetti. So it was incredible, and I think it'll stand for a long time as the greatest game in Kansas City sports history. Are we wrong, Vahe?
I don't see how we could be wrong on that, right? And you laid it out perfectly. I mean, it is the marquee event in all sports, at least as we see it in this country, the marquee event in all sports, and it had the exact dramatics that Sam McDowell and Pete declare as fundamental to this equation. I mean, you couldn't draw up more suspense, really. Although, really, by the end, like in the last 90 seconds, it was like, well, this is over.
Got time to write.
Yeah, got time. Yeah. So I don't know. It just had it all, and of course, we've talked about Patrick a number of times, even within this. But I mean, for him to be at the center of all that too is kind of cool, right? I mean, he's going to be one that endures for ages here, and you can say sort of changed everything for the Chiefs and in some ways Kansas City sports. I'm sure you guys have better memories.
No, I mean,
and
I think
descriptions
it's
than that.
obviously. I think it should obviously be number one, but I think in 10 years we could have a new number one. I do think that this guy's going to win multiple Super Bowls, and there's the potential. For 3 quarters, that was kind of a lousy football game. Mm-hmm. And I think we could potentially see one that's got more drama in it that he wins. I mean, Pete laid this out at the start. I do think when you're making a top 25 games in Kansas City sports history, that nobody wants to read about a game they lost. But right. I think this guy will win one that maybe has
like a shootout type of game.
You know, I mean, we've seen several of those in the regular season that we saw them in the playoffs that year. You know, if either one of those games are mimic the Super Bowl, those games are probably number one instead.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great point, though, that it was, I mean, truly a crummy game for 3 quarters. Not just, I mean, it's just not that interesting in some ways. I mean, other than like the terrible feeling that Kansas City fans had.
Yeah. Right. And going into that, I think the betting line was just 1 point. So it was anticipated to be a close game. But I was so sure going into that game that the Chiefs were going to win that game that I was shocked when they got down 21-10. And then when Mahomes threw the interception that bounced off Tyreek's arm, I thought the game was over. The way they had played for the first 3.5 quarters, I just did not see a way that they could score that quickly. Of course, the Wasp play is going to go down, or has, in Chiefs history for the right reasons, because that was the play where they finally broke through the dam. Mm-hmm. And everything was different after that.
Absolutely. Change the Jet Crisp Wasp, the
Chip Wasp.
Chip Wasp. Yeah, this the official name of the play. It did. It changed everything. It changed the feeling of the game. I don't know if I thought they were going to win, but at least at that point, I think, they're going to get a touchdown here.
It was the first time they got anything going.
Yeah, it was their longest play of the night. It was 44
It felt like they were
game.
playing against 13 defenders for so long in that game that they finally got something going. And it's so funny that Mahomes' famous line is, do we have time to run Wasp? And that was the essence of that first 3.5 quarters. He didn't have time to do anything. I mean, it was so similar to the Super Bowl that we saw play out, except the 49ers had pinched him in a way to where he couldn't scramble the way we saw him scramble this last Super Bowl, that you just didn't feel like they could overcome that deficit up front.
Great moment in Kansas City sports. Great game, a list of great games. And how fortunate are we to have been, to have, I keep saying recency bias, but the 14-15 Royals and the Chiefs, the Mahomes Chiefs, have given this region some of its greatest sports moments. It really has. I mean, 85 Royals were great, and the Brett Royals and the Len Dawson Chiefs, and a lot of KU basketball, Missouri football, Kansas State football for sure. But just in terms of Royals and Chiefs, we've got a lot of good recent stuff here to talk about. So, and I'm glad I got to talk about it with Pete Gradhoff, Vahe Gregorian, and Sam McDowell. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Blair.
That'll do it for today and this week on SportsBeat KC. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Hey, a copy of that story is the best 25 games in Kansas City sports history. We've attached it to the show notes, and of course you can find it on kansascity.com. We also got another deal for you. You can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. Sports Pass is the online version of the Star Sports section. You get all the stories that appear in the print editions of the Star, plus additional stories that appear only on the website. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. And it's a great time to subscribe. Read about what's going on with the Chiefs, the Royals, the colleges, our soccer team, so much soccer going on, and much more. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. Do you want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional national news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of those offers, send me an email, bkirkhoff@kcstar.com, and I will get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Monday with another episode.